Page 39. Truly, however, those who practice equitableness or fairness, and fear that the one who has prepared or had prepared his or her writing or testament, for after his or her dying, and therefore for his or her goods and chattels and wealth, for the survivors, has created partiality or inequity for the survivors through his or her writing or testament, that human being shall confront the human being who produced the writing or testament and show or reveal the correct way to him or her. And if survivors fall into enmity due to partiality and inequity of the deceased and his or her writing or testament, then rational people shall bring about peace between those affected, so that they will be forgiving and compassionate to one another. You believe that fasting is prescribed for you, and it is maintained that fasting was already prescribed for those who have gone before you. But this is by no means the truth, because it has been from time immemorial only a discourse by those without equitableness, or unfair ones / irresponsible ones / inequitable ones, so that you would remain with your God or tin God through your belief. Truly, fasting is no law, although it is a recommendation which serves your health and the well-being of your body, so that you do not practice gorging and gluttony, and satisfy yourselves with a good measure. Therefore, according to your own discretion, take a number of days determined by yourselves, during which you only consume moderate nourishment once a day. However, whoever is ill, and those who would have difficulty in withstanding the fast, shall refrain from doing so, and do it if it is necessary for them. And fasting does not apply to children and those hungering in misery, because they require nourishment and cannot do without it. Therefore, let children and those hungering in misery eat in voluntary observance of the laws and recommendations of the primal power or creation, and do a good work for them. And fasting is good for you if you wish to understand it, for your health, for your body, and everything that is within it, as well as for your discipline and taming. And there shall not be any particular time for fasting, but it is a recommendation given guidance to you that fasting shall be performed when the requirement or health stand behind it. Therefore they apply as proof of direction and differentiation according to which fasting shall be performed. Whoever has the want for fasting, or because his or her health demands it, or because it is given, for whatever reason, he or she may fast for a predetermined time, depending on his or her own free will, or the instruction given by someone versed in medicine. However, whoever is suffering from an illness shall not take part in fasting, or only do so according to the instruction of someone versed in medicine. Therefore, wish to make it easy, and not difficult for yourselves, and perform fasting according to the necessary extent, so that you are rightly led, and that you may be thankful for it. And if you are asked about the reason for fasting by the unknowing ones, then say that it is a matter of your health, and tell the questioner or the requester that they shall listen to the guidance of the recommendations for fasting and be knowing in them, so that they may walk the right way. Also, in the time of fasting, it is permitted for you to go into your woman or your man if you are rightful in your bond with one another, or connected to one another. Therefore, do not act in inequity or unfairness, irresponsibility, against yourselves, but be kind-hearted and practice equitableness or fairness on yourselves, and grant yourselves easement in your union with one another. Therefore you may go into one another also during the time of fasting, and strive for what is sufficient for your good, and eat and drink during the time of fasting in an appropriate minimum extent, so that you will not be prevented from fasting due to great hunger. And when you complete your fasting, then the day may return to its given course, although you should restrict the amount of nourishment, so that you do not suffer any injury. These are the limits that are given by the recommendations so that you do not exceed them, and accept them so that you will be protected against everything that harms your health as well and well-being and brings you evil. And do not devour your wealth amongst one another through falseness and lying and deception, and not through greed and stinginess. And do not offer your wealth for bribery, not to those without equitableness, or unfair ones / irresponsible ones / inequitable ones, and not to authority in order to be granted advantages and right while in the unright, because thereby you knowingly or consciously wish to devour parts of the wealth of the other people. Live at all times in equitableness, or fairness / responsibility, and honestly, and do not dare to commit misdeeds in order thereby to increase your wealth by striving to swindle the wealth of others through unright. As you are the ones living in equitableness, or fairness / responsibility, uphold righteousness, or conscientiousness, so that you do not enter the houses of your next ones from behind as thieves. Respect the house and the right and the wealth of your next ones, so that you do not covet your next one's goods and chattels, just as you do not covet the wife of your next one, or the husband of your next one. Therefore, you shall enter the houses through the doors that are open to you, so that you may enter honestly and be welcome. And therefore take heed of this, and respect your next one's goods and chattels and wealth, and honor your next one's wife and your next one's husband, so that you will always be received in a friendly wise, and be honored guests. Be fearful of the unright, so that it may go well with you. And if you are asked about the purpose of the moon and the stars in the firmament, then teach that the moon helps to determine that on earth which makes possible the tides of the seas, and the changes of the weather, by which everything thrives and lives well. And if you enter into a bond between man and woman, then both shall have the capabilities for doing so, and each party shall have sufficient goods and chattels and wealth to bring into the bond as male and female dowry, as is given in accordance with possibility. However, no purchase price shall be paid for a woman or for a man, because neither the one nor the other is a commodity. And if your bond of marriage is broken, then separate in honor and do not quarrel. Rather, divide your goods and chattels and your wealth fairly in accordance with the earnings as acquired by the woman and the man, so that the share falls to each party as he or she has worked for, and may he or she be satisfied with it. If one has more than the other, then the one who owns more may give to the other at his or her discretion. It shall not be the case that authority or jurisdiction shall make assessments for a settlement, and indemnity, and the like, if woman and man exercise equality and equitableness, or fairness. Therefore, jurisdiction or authority shall only make an assessment if a decision has to be reached in a dispute, because man and woman are free in their bond and also in setting the line about what shall be. And if a bond of marriage is broken, then a letter of separation shall be written, both by the woman and by the man, so that it is set down in writing that both parties are no longer in a bond, and are free and unmarried, and can go their own way. And both man and woman have the same duties and rights in the dissolution of the bond, so that neither the man nor the woman is to be favored. And goods and chattels, as well as possessions and wealth, acquired jointly by the man and woman before and during the bond of marriage, shall be allocated half to the man and half to the woman, in honesty and equitableness, or fairness. If there is a dispute between the man and woman about the allocation when the bond is cancelled, and if they cannot jointly find the way to this, then jurisdiction or the authority shall decide, based on precise documentary evidence, and also clarify the situation in terms of goods and chattels, possessions and wealth, in order to reach a wise decision on this, and to do rightfully, so that each party receives the share according to his or her earnings, or what they contributed as a dowry, so neither the woman nor the man is cheated. The dowry contributed by the woman belongs to her, and the dowry contributed by the man belongs to him, both during the bond and also when a termination of the bond is completed. Therefore it shall also be the case that after a termination of the bond of marriage, the woman and the man go their own ways, and also that the woman is not responsible for paying for the maintenance of the man, nor the man for the maintenance of the woman, because after separation from bed and board, each party is responsible for providing for their own living and their own maintenance, so that equality and equitableness or fairness may prevail. And if a bond of marriage is broken, then neither the woman nor the man shall be preferred in law if jurisdiction or the authority must decide on the breakup of the bond. Rather, both parties shall be subject to the same duty and the same right. It is given, if the bond breaks up, that the children shall not be allocated either to the woman or the man alone for their upbringing and their welfare. Rather, it shall be that a regulated reciprocity shall exist, so that the children stay alternately for a number of days with the mother and a number of days with the father, so that the children are not torn in themselves and do not develop any extraneousness towards one parent, and both parents are responsible for the children. Therefore it shall be given that the children are brought up by both parents, and also that not one parent alone, but both parents, namely mother and father, shall contribute equally to the welfare of the children. If one of the parents can be proved to be doubtful or incapable in all things relating to the upbringing and care of the children, then the other parent shall take them into his or her charge, and bring them up and provide them with everything necessary. But it is given that they shall not be withheld from the other parent, so that the parental duty can be discharged. And in case of any malicious violation of this, then the fallible parent shall be rebuked by the authority or jurisdiction, and subjected to a stern punishment. If both parents can be proved to be incapable of bringing up their children and supplying them with everything that they require, then a decision shall be reached that they shall live in a suitable place similar to where orphans live, so that they can receive a good upbringing, love, and support. Children are not the property of their parents, because they are in their nature free people of your kind, or human beings, with their own rights, with their own thoughts and feelings, as well as with the right to decide of their own free will. And if a bond of marriage is broken and a letter of separation is issued, then the woman shall abstain from sensual or sexual relations with another man for 10 months, waiting for the monthly menstruation, so that no concealed pregnancy or offspring may become a burden and an obligation on another man. And if a man and woman separate from one another and nevertheless live under the same roof, and the woman approaches the end of her waiting period of 10 months of monthly menstruation, then she may remain in a decorous wise until under the same roof, in accordance with her volition and that of the separated man, or in a decorous wise she shall leave the place and go her own way. And this depends on whose property the house is, and how the separated man or woman have decided between themselves on where to stay. But neither woman nor man may remain in the house contrary to right, so that they do not commit any brutality against one another. And if they behave in correctness, then truly neither the man nor woman need to carry any burden and guilt. Therefore, do not mock these recommendations, and think of your honor and dignity at all times, which you can carry or may lose. Consider the recommendations in wisdom and admonish yourselves always to comply with them.